Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strike Zone with St. Paul Saints Manager George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul Manager questions about the Saints, baseball or sports in general, or just seek George's wisdom about life events. In this week's episode, George talks to us about what he misses about Midway Stadium. He shares with us his insights on who he believes is the best manager at arguing of all time. And does George believe that RG3 signing with the Cleveland Browns would be a career ender? Let's get right to Strike Zone. So let's welcome back Manager George Tsamis this week. George, let's first of all begin with you if you have any team updates for us.
Hi, Robert. How are you this week? It's a new week. We have no player signings to announce today, but it has picked up here with the releases starting, and we're working on some things, and we'll see what falls into place here over the next week or two. But I would think by next week's show, we'll have some, a player or two or three to announce that we signed. But nothing this week.
I was looking at who you signed up to this point. It looks like you pretty much have outfield and infield. Of course, if another guy comes along, that could change. But I would assume at this point your primary focus is on catching and pitching. Am I wrong with that?
No, that's very accurate. We if the season started tomorrow, we probably could field the team. Other than a catcher, we probably need to get one of those. But we will see how that plays out. And like I said, the releases over the past few days, they're starting to come in, and I expect over this week and next week there'll be a lot more out there, and we'll fill the holes.
Well, let us head into our fan questions this week. The first comes from Glenn from Minneapolis, who asked, George, after a season at CHS Field, is there anything you miss about Midway?
Obviously CHS Field is the nicest park, anybody will ever play in. That's a beautiful place to be. But Midway, I enjoyed it there too, and I know there's a lot of people out there that enjoyed it and the atmosphere there, and it was just good to play in front of the 6,000, 5,000 fans tonight there, and in that, with the history and the good atmosphere, and the fans are on top of you. They're loud into the games, and I know the locker rooms were tough, mostly for the players because they were so small, and maybe not the best facility, but I liked it there, and I really liked the trains going by left field, during the games, and that's something that was just neat to see. And again, love CHS Field, but Midway was a real nice place to be.
We have a couple of questions from Jeff from Apple Valley. The first one is, were there any foul balls at CHS Field last season that made it out of the stadium in left field and on to Highway 94?
No, not that I heard of. When you're watching the games, you think some of the foul balls will go out. You think that maybe they have a chance to get to the road, but I hadn't heard anything, and I guess that's a good thing if we had not heard that they made them out there and caused any accidents or anything like that. So.
I know there were a lot that made it onto the road behind the stadium, and I always thought people were kind of crazy to park there. So that's a little.
Yeah, the road behind home plate, that seemed like some foul balls can get there, and but hopefully not too many cars get hit.
Jeff would also like to know, do the Saints have the same amount of netting behind home plate and down the baselines as Major League Baseball teams do to help protect fans from foul balls and other objects?
I believe the netting we had last year, to me, I thought that was a great idea that we had it. The nets extended down, along the dugout and past the dugout. And to me, that was a real smart thing to do. And because I've seen a lot of games over the years and been to a lot of games over the years and in other parks, and you're so close to the action. You're right on top of the action, and I've seen so many line drives go up above the dugout and hit fans, and it's scary, and it doesn't. Obviously it's nice to pay attention, and you should be paying attention. But even if you are paying attention, that doesn't mean you're going to get out of the way of those line drives that come up there because they come so fast. And but I think the netting we have above the dugout that extends down. I think it's a great thing. Seen so many foul balls last year that just hit the net and there to protect people. And I think a lot of teams need to start using that and expanding the nets because those little kids are just sitting there, and you have the great seats behind the dugout and down the line a little bit, but you're right in that foul ball zone. You're right there, and you're not going to have time to react.
All you have to do is turn away for half a second, and you're beamed with the ball.
Absolutely, but again, even if you're looking, even if you're paying attention and you see it coming, it comes so fast you don't have time to get out of the way.
As sad as it would be, I mean, as good an idea it is to see netting covering the field in that way, it would be kind of sad in the sense, too, though, that I think the best catch we saw last season was the fan who caught that bat that flew into the stands.
Yeah, that was the first game, and, it was a nice play, and I guess the bat you have a little more time to react to, but those line drives that go down there, you better be paying attention.
Absolutely. Bill from Owatonna would like to know, he saw Alan Oak sign with Texas. Wasn't he your closer to start last season?
Yeah, he started the season with us last year, and we had him for a little bit, and he started closing. He closed the first game of the season for us, and with our spring training so short, 12 days, and you don't get to see the guys, too much. When we started the season, we really didn't have a set closer, and it just worked out that he happened to close the first game, and obviously, things didn't work out with him, and then Rotobaugh came along and did a good job for us all year long and led the league in saves.
Mary from Egan asks, Skipper, do you have any updates on how your players from last season are doing in spring training?
Yeah, I saw yesterday's box score. I saw Anthony Phillips got into a big league game yesterday, so that was nice.
Nice.
That he got the opportunity to get in the bat in a big league game, and he played second base, I believe. But I know when I talked to him last week, he was working out with the AAA team, and it's been about a week, so I'm not sure if he's still with the AAA team or if he's down with the AA team, but hopefully he gets the opportunity. And Sacco and DeFazio, they both were they started out with the AAA team, but now both of them are down with the AA team, and they're both having good springs. So hopefully they can keep it going and break camp with the team and start the season in AA.
Wow, that's exciting for Anthony. I didn't realize that he played in the Major League's spring training game. Wow, good for him.
Yeah, I just saw the box score last night, and he said he got in there late in the game, and that's good. It's good for these guys to see it too, and to get the opportunity and just to play in a big league game.
I would assume that playing in a game like that bodes well for him making the affiliate somewhere along the lines.
Yeah, you would think, but you just never know, though. I remember it was years ago. We had Brent Krause on our team, who was a real good outfitter for us, and I remember he was in spring training, and it was the same kind of situation. And he played in a big league game, and I saw a few big league games. He got a chance to go up there and saw him a couple box scores, and figure, okay, well, he's going to probably go to AA, and you won't see him again. And a few days later, he was released, and we ended up getting him back. So you just don't know how things are going to play out. You hope it works out for them, but you're just really not sure.
Derek from Hopkins asks of you, says, George, what do you think of the situation with Adam LaRoche and wanting to bring his kid to the locker room each day? Do the Saints have a rule where players cannot bring kids into the locker room or are limited when they can come?
That situation is, you heard it from both sides, and it's a tricky situation, and you just don't know the facts. And at first you heard that maybe it was coaches complaining, and all the players were fine with it, but then you hear yesterday that some of the players complained about it, and I don't know if we'll ever find out the truth. And again, it's a tough situation, and I mean, I personally don't think there's anything. You bring your kid in there, and we've had guys bring their kids in at times, but if it's all the time, maybe it's too much. And it's, I don't know. It's you're there to play, and sometimes guys have tough games too. And at the end of a game, you come in that clubhouse, and and maybe especially at Midway too, because I was a smaller one, and it was there wasn't that much room in there. But you are there to work, and I think at times it's okay to have your kid in there or your kids in there, but I think you should limit it. And if you have a tough loss, I don't think it's a good idea to bring your kids in there. A tough loss in a big situation, a big spot. It's guys are not happy about it, and but again, in that situation, you just don't know if players complained, and you know what? It is the clubhouse, the locker room. Guys are changing all the time, and I don't know if it's the right place to have little kids in there. And it's again, most of the players came out publicly and said, "Hey, there's no problem having them in there," but you just don't really know the truth.
I assume in a situation like this, as the manager, you have to just kind of feel out how the locker room is feeling about this kind of idea. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's there's times. I mean, players come to managers all the time about things, and if that's something that somebody, a player came to me about, then you have to address it, and you just don't know if that happened. And again, in that situation, you hear that LaRoche's kid was a great kid, and guys liked having him around, and never in the way. But again, if it was 100% of the time, which that's what you hear it is, and maybe it's too much. But again, I wasn't there, so I don't know if players were complaining or it was a problem, or sometimes guys just would rather not would not deal with it. And again, it's a tricky situation, but it is the workplace, and that's where you are there. And I did read that, I believe it was the Texas Rangers, I believe. They had a rule, I believe, where you have your kids in there, fine, but 90 minutes for the game, it says they're all out. And I read that another team had it. They win a game, kids can come in after, and so it's different rules for different teams. But again, I just think 100% of the time, maybe too much.
Jerome from Minneapolis asks, do you think Ricky Nolasco could rebound this season and be the number one starter the Twins were hoping for when they signed him?
Yeah, I don't, especially lately with trying to get our team together, I really haven't followed too much of what's going on in the big leagues and how he's been doing. And so I would probably be the wrong guy at this time to answer that question. I know that maybe he hasn't had the best time with the Twins. He really hasn't, done as well as he had hoped. So, I'm not even sure how he's doing this spring training. It's you hope that he can get the job done, and you hope they have 5 quality starters, and then once opening day comes around, it doesn't matter who started the first game. It's go throughout the season, and whoever pitches best, that's going to determine who the number one pitcher is. But I hope they do. I hope he does well, and I hope whoever the other 4 starters are, I hope it all works out where the Twins can be contenders and have a good year.
Just so nobody thinks I'm crazy, I do know that the proper way to say that is rebound, so I apologize about that. Okay. Cindy from Circle Pines asked, what made you decide it was time to retire from playing professional baseball?
Well, maybe decide was they made me retire. First of all, when you don't throw that hard in the first place, when you're a mid-80s guy in the first place, and and never overpowering, and you had a couple of shoulder surgeries, and you had a tough time getting that fastball back over 80 miles per hour, then it was time to move on, and loved playing, and it's a tough day when they tell you can't play anymore because you just can't get it done anymore, and so it's not that I chose to retire, but it was kind of time because just couldn't do it anymore. Didn't have the velocity to get it by the guys.
Jim from Richfield wonders from you. He says Tommy Malone struggled a bit both of his times when he was with the Twins last season, but down in Rochester he was unhittable. He thinks he gave up just 1 run in 55 innings. Is there that much of a difference between the majors and AAA?
Yeah, pretty much it is. Guys in the big leagues are the best players in the world, and it is definitely a difference. Guys can go do real well in AAA, and you get to the big leagues, and they're just better all the way around, and more disciplined hitters, and So to me, it is a big difference with those big league hitters.
I think you mentioned earlier in the season last year about a lot of the top prospects even start out at Double-A when they come to the majors now. So it's not even that, maybe even Double-A in some ways is a little bit harder to pitch against than Triple-A. Is that a bad assumption by me?
Yeah, it's Double-A, Triple-A. There's quality players all the way up, from the day they get drafted, and they're real good, but just, comparing them to the big league guys it's tough. And yeah, and then the guys in AAA too, you see a lot of veteran guys, a lot of older guys that have been around for a while that are just real good hitters, and maybe those 30-year-old pitchers you see in AAA that maybe they don't throw 95 anymore, but they sure know what they're doing and change speeds and pitch in and out, and so the AA, AAA players, they're excellent, but not like the big leagues. It's just it's a big step, big difference.
Chris from Minneapolis would like to know, who do you think is the game's best player now?
Well, I guess there's two guys I'm sure everybody has the same answer: Bryce Harper or Mike Trout, and I guess McCutcheon's pretty good too. He should be up there too, but I don't know. If you had to pick one, I guess I don't know if there's a right answer to it, but Mike Trout, he's just been so fun to watch. Excellent, great center fielder, and makes the plays, always hustling, and so I would have to say I'd have to go with Mike Trout, but that doesn't mean it's the right answer, because Bryce Harper is going to be a great player for a long time, and you wonder where he ends up in a few years. When it's time for him to be a free agent, and how much he gets.
Yeah, another $300 million man out there, I would assume.
Well, you're hearing it's going to be more than that.
Oh.
So, yeah, and how old is he? 22. He's still so young. He is something to watch there. So, but I guess we're going to see how that plays out over the next couple of years.
Well, we could see a $500 million guy maybe here at some point.
You know what? It is crazy how it works, but good for them.
Owen from Alameda asks of you, George, who do you think was the best manager of all time at arguing with umpires?
That's another one that's a tough one. I remember the days when Billy Martin and Earl Weaver were pretty good at it. They would go crazy. I guess they were good at it. I would have to go with one of those two guys, and now, especially now with instant replay, you really don't see too many arguments anymore, because they just wait to see what the replay is, and they go out and tell them to check the replay. So, and that is one thing that's, I guess, doesn't happen too much in the game anymore.
Yeah, some of those great Lou Piniella dust-ups were always kind of fun to watch too. So.
Yeah, that's another guy. I forgot about him. Yeah, he was kind of crazy too.
Actually,
but you know what? Fans like it though. Fans like it. It's it's interesting, and they defend their guys and they go after it. So, but there are some guys that really get into it.
You and I had the advantage of growing up right there with Billy Ball and watching Billy Martin have some.
Yeah, he was something. He was kicking the dirt on the umpires back in the day, and it's But again, I don't think we see that much anymore especially because of the instant replay.
Tim from Burnsville would like to know from you, what do you think is the most important thing in your catcher? Ability to call a good game, great defense, or great bats?
All three would be nice, but the ability to call a good game, that's something that you'll never see in the box score or anything. And some pitchers prefer certain catchers, and managing all these years, there's times pitchers say, hey, I'd rather throw to him, I'd rather throw to this guy, and because they call a good game, and they play great defense, and playing pitchers good, and so it's nice when they can swing it, but when they call a good game back there and really getting dirty, blocking those balls, and having that good arm, it's nice to have a catcher like that.
Tyler from Champlin asks of you, I know a lot of hitters have a song played when they come to bat, and pitchers have a song that plays when they come in. Did you have a song played for you when you entered games?
No, I don't think so. It was really some teams do it. They have their even in our league now, they have their walk-up songs, and I don't think I ever had one, but I'm sure I could pick. There's a few AC/DC songs I could pick that I liked, and that we could that we could use.
Maybe we should get one of those from when you come up to give up the scorecard before games.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, I'll have to come up with a good AC/DC song for that.
Let's see. Well, probably Hell's Bells would be bad, but that probably wouldn't be a good start to the game.
Yeah, that was Trevor Hoffman's song. That was so exciting when he came into that. Though but there's so many songs, so many AC/DC songs anybody can choose from or people like. So.
Well, we're gonna have to come up with a list and talk to whoever it is about having that when you enter games.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll get on Andy Crowley about it. I'll make sure that he comes up with a good one.
Oh, we head to a couple of football questions this week. The first one is from Eric from St. Peter, who asked, do you think that the moves the Raiders are making are enough to finally turn this organization around?
Honestly, I haven't followed, too closely, especially lately what they're doing, but it's better when they're good. They've had some tough years, and I know they have the good young quarterback, and they have some talented players on their team, but it's been a struggle for them for so long. But I miss the days, especially when we were growing up out in California, when the Raiders were just so intimidating and so good, and it'd be nice to get them back and have them mean something in the league again.
Barry from Albert Lee would like to know, the Browns are reportedly interested in RG3. If he goes there, his career is most assuredly over, wouldn't you say?
Well, who knows? I mean, isn't it right now? It's kind of in a holding pattern now. So, wherever he goes to start, you just don't know. I know Cleveland's been a tough place over the years for. They've struggled, and maybe it just takes one guy to provide a spark and turn it around. And again, we've seen, especially last year, how lacking good quarterbacks around. So if he can get healthy, and he was one of the most exciting players in the game, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was, and he got hurt, and obviously hasn't been the same. But maybe he's healthy, and wherever he ends up, maybe he can be a good player, provide a spark, and if it's with them, it'd be nice too to maybe turn that organization around.
I really hope that he does get better, because he was an exciting player to watch for sure.
Yeah, he's still so fast. I still remember that run against the Vikings where he just ran through the line there, through the hole, and then he just separated from everybody else. How fast he was, and hopefully he can get healthy and get in a good situation.
Our last question of this week comes from Trent. He says, George, I know you're a big AC/DC fan, so I'm wondering what you think about the band trying to force Brian Johnson out because doctors have told him that if he keeps performing, he will lose his hearing. Johnson is feeling betrayed, but seriously, shouldn't he be thankful his guys are looking out for him?
Yeah, I read that, and again, that's another thing. I just don't really know the truth of the whole situation, and it's weird how it works. I mean, they were just in St. Paul a month ago, whenever it was.
I think so.
It's a sad thing to hear that that he's losing his hearing, and he's been around for a long time and done a real good job for them. And you read the stories too. Was he booted? Was he booted? Who knows? I don't know the facts, and if that is the case, that's too bad. If that's the way it went down, but you hope he can, get healthy and hope everything is okay. And then again, just because we hear they have a replacement, that doesn't mean they do. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. But he's I personally, being an AC/DC fan, I really enjoyed him, and hopefully it's not over for him.
Absolutely, because we need a good entering song for George out there. So, Brian Johnson, if you're listening, we need a good intro song. So.
Yeah, we need to get him up there, and that'll be good, and play some of his old good songs, and we're good.
Sounds great. Well, George, thanks for joining us this week.
Okay, thank you very much.
We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, Please send them to us at AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review the questions before we record the show on Monday. I want to thank you again for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll look for you next week on Strike Zone.